You want the ultimate news and information and analysis to start your morning each day? You're going to want to watch my program, Vince. We do that live every day at 8 a.m. at rumble.com/Vince, or you can get it on demand as a video on Rumble or in podcast form. Whatever works for you, we've got it for you. Make sure to watch and listen to Vince every single day, live at 8 a.m. Eastern, rumble.com/Vince. Oh, yes, it's Monday. Good morning, everybody. Great to have you with us. We love Major, too. Major's, I don't know what Major's doing. Major spends a lot of the time resting. You know how long dogs sleep? You ever look that up? They lie around a lot. And then you get home, and they go bananas. Good morning, good morning. Do-do-do. Hey everybody, welcome to Vince on a Monday. It is so great to have you with us, the best audience anywhere. Holy crap, what an exciting weekend. Did you see the big Freedom 250 IndyCar race in Washington, D.C.? Well, if you missed any component of it, I've got the highlights for you coming up on the program. We'll talk about what exactly went down there. It was very exciting. The left is very upset about it. In other words, a normal weekend in the United States of America with President Trump in office. Appreciate him. We'll also get to the midterms. What's going on the campaign trail now as we barrel towards the midterms? We've got some updates on that subject and what the chances are of Republicans actually growing their numbers in the House and the Senate. And then we'll take a look at why did Enes Kanter Freedom just get thrown out of a WNBA game? Why are they treating people who identify temporarily as women so poorly? We'll explore all of it. It's all ahead on this edition of Vince. I want to thank the fine people who make today's show possible. That includes Chef Man. You guys know about Chef Man? Chef Man's awesome. You know, a lot of frozen drink makers either cost a fortune or feel like a cheap seasonal gadget. The Chef Man Slush Ease Max delivers very premium frozen drink performance without the premium price tag. I was really surprised by how much this feels like one of those very expensive frozen drink machines you might see at a fancy restaurant or bar. The big difference is it's designed for your countertop. It's very easy to use. And one of my favorite things about it is you don't need ice for it. It has a built-in freezing system. You just add your ingredients, you just let the machine do the work. And we use it for all sorts of things: smoothies, frozen coffee drinks, milkshakes, even frozen cocktails. It's amazing. The large 90-ounce capacity is perfect for family gatherings or parties. And because it's so versatile, it's something you're going to use all year long. It's not just during the summer. Now, if you've been thinking about getting a frozen drink machine, I think you'll be very impressed with the Chef Man Slush Ease Max. It delivers great frozen drinks, very easy to use, and it's not going to cost you a fortune. Plus, you'll save 25% with my code Vince. Just visit chefman.com. Use the promo code Vince. Again, chefman.com, promo code Vince. Boom. I got a text message from producer Jim Sunday. He goes, "Are you at the race?" And I wrote back, "No, I'm weeding the yard." I'm weeding the yard. No, I didn't have tickets to the race, but there were over 100,000 people in attendance, thanks to the generosity of President Trump, the organizers, Penske. It was a great operation, and they spent a lot of time trying to get the nation's capital to actually be a racetrack, and they did it with a lot of success. It was a huge, huge success this weekend, and it was very cool just to watch, even on television, these cars roaring through the streets of the nation's capital very fast. Cool thing. Here's the President of the United States. Let's launch there. The President of the United States waving the green flag to kick off the Freedom 250 Grand Prix. Take a look.
Here today. This is history. Right here, right now. This is history. A new motor race conceived in liberty. The Freedom 250. As the drivers hurtle down in front of the Capitol building, they will round turn one. They will see the green flag waved by President Trump. We have green. We are racing in the Freedom 250. Alex Palou with a great start down the inside, running down towards turn one. Kirkwood tries to get around him immediately and into the lead. He squeezes the championship leader. They all get through seemingly cleanly. And it's a good start from Palou and from Kirkwood, who is still side by side on the run down to 3.
And here it is.
So
He's
cool.
not giving up yet. Kirkwood has taken the lead.
Man, I wish traffic moved that fast out of the city on a routine basis. Holy crap. Anyway, that was really cool to see. The president waving the green flag, which I love, which instantly became a meme. Now, anything where President Trump is starting something great, the green flag meme of President Trump waving it is always going to be front and center. I love that. Now, leading up to that moment with the president, there were all sorts of great events and festivities, including there were 7, count them, 7 flyovers by the United States military. Each of the services represented, and of course, they brought the services together for some of this. Watch these 7 flyovers, tightly packed here. Cut 2. Watch this. So cool. There's the Air Force. Comes the Army. There's the Coast Guard. They're the Marines. There's Air Force One flying in. And then the final flyover. How cool is that one? The B-2 bomber flanked by all of these epic, just cutting-edge jets. Flying in over Washington, D.C. Listen to the sound of it. I'm not even there. I'm just watching a video, and I'm in awe as these things pass. I know American flags in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Please, a little patriotic support for the men and women of the United States military. Appreciate them and for all their service to our country. But what a great celebration! The president, of course, setting this up. Every time I see one of these things, I think, man, the president must have been heavily involved, or at least the people around him are like constantly shoving the best possible thing forward and saying, no, we're doing it. I don't care what the restrictions are. We're kicking down all the doors to make something like this happen. Look at this. All these American flags. You're filling my heart with pride. Love it. Love it. What a great country. We've got one more because I love that final flyover so much. You heard it in that video. You heard the jets flying over. But in the live broadcast, and for the people who were actually close to the race, what they were actually listening to was America's tenor, Christopher Macchio, who was an amazing performer. I've had the honor of interviewing him in the past. The president often has him sing and perform at all sorts of events, and that included yesterday's big IndyCar race. Here's Christopher Macchio closing out America's national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner, as the B-2 stealth bomber, flanked by these incredible fighter jets, closes it all out. Watch this.
And the home of the
I voted for that. I voted for that. Me personally voted for that. That was so good. Isn't that incredible? God, it just makes me emotional seeing it. It's very cool. It's very cool. The race was cool too. The race was very cool. In fact, the cars were moving so fast that your phone's frame rate was very unlikely to keep up with them as they went by. This is the journalist Emily Miller captured this video. Apparently, she was very close to the racetrack. But watch, for those of you, of course, who are watching with me, there's very visual elements here. Rumble.com/Vince if you'd like to see them. Watch as the little blips of cars just go through the frame. You can barely see them because the frame rate on the phone can't keep up. Watch this. They're like blinks. Blink, 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 blink. They're gone. Look how fast they're moving, man. They're hundreds of miles an hour down these DC streets. Very, very cool to see. We also had Melania Trump in attendance. The media tried to turn this into I don't know what they're trying. They're always attacking Trump and Melania. They're always attacking these guys, so whatever. They're irrelevant. But the point is, Melania Trump was present. She did an interview with Fox Sports, and she talked about how she actually derived her love for car racing from her father. Her father was apparently he was in auto parts, and he sold auto parts for years. So Melania Trump says she became very familiar with auto racing because her dad would take her to the races. Watch this, cut 5.
Yes, I have. Well, joined now by the First Lady, Mrs. Melania Trump. What a day so far. What has it been like watching the streets of D.C. transform into a racetrack?
It's an incredible day. I think everybody did an amazing job, DC and also IndyCar, Fox Corporation, and it is wonderful to have them here. Very exciting, and people looking forward to this incredible event.
I understand you're a race fan, so what has it been like taking a lap and meeting the drivers?
It was exciting, of course. Yes, when I was growing up, my father introduced me to the races and to the race cars, and he owned some incredible cars from Maserati and Cougar and Mustang, Mercedes. So he introduced me to design of cars and the mechanics and also the speed, and I loved it every minute of it.
It's very cool. I didn't know that. I didn't know that about Melania Trump. There you go. You learn something new all the time. She's a fascinating person. And so there she is. She had a great time, and she talked about her love of cars, and she got it from her family. And then, of course, the race continued, and it was excellent. And I was very happy to say that an American won. Thank goodness. A little worried for a moment. I was like, I don't want one of these foreigners winning our big America 250 race. Well, crisis averted. American Kyle Kirkwood takes the checkered flag. Here's what that looked like. Cut 6. Watch this. Is Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary, was there to wave that checkered flag.
A moment like driving around here. I mean, the President of the United States, the First Lady, standing right here watching you come to victory. I mean, put it in perspective, driving around this track and being here in this moment with your team.
It felt good to dominate out there. I'm not going to lie. That was a really good moment. I'm a fellow Florida guy. I live up in Jupiter, so it's cool to see him down here and right here in this race. What an incredible place to do it. You know, if you can't win at the 500, this is definitely the place to win. And I don't know if we're ever going to get another chance at this. I hope we do. I hope we do. This was awesome. But this was, what a dream come true.
Congratulations.
Isn't that cool? That's cool. I like that. He's just very happy about what he achieved. And he did it in front of his country, and he's an American. And he also mentioned, he's like, I'm from Florida, too. I'm very close to Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago. I'm at Jupiter. Which is cool. He's practically neighbors with Donald Trump and, let's see, Dan Bongino and who else? Don Jr. Who else? Producer Josh. He's like neighbors with all these guys. Josh was telling me about all the family connections and that his dad's over here. And I know that place, and it's pretty cool. So Kyle Kirkwood, big victory, and very proud of it. God bless him for it. Very cool to see. And anyway, it was a great race. It was I was watching it yesterday throughout the race, and I thought, man, this is just the neatest thing ever. I'm so glad that they put all this together. Now, you and I may think it's wonderful, which of course we do, but of course, leave it to the left to try and crap on it. Adam Schiff yesterday, the watermelon-headed liar in the United States Senate, he came out with a statement on the subject yesterday. He was upset about Trump waving the green flag. Here he is. Dude, I love that Trump just keeps waving the green flag on Adam Schiff's tweet. It's my favorite aspect of the tweet. But it says here, while you struggle with the cost of gas, Trump offers you the spectacle of an IndyCar race, hoping you will not notice. More taxpayer money spent on his self-aggrandizing distractions, and you get higher taxes and higher costs. Wait, hold on a second. Adam Schiff, you're against higher taxes? When did that happen? When was it? Adam Schiff is against higher tax and higher cost. When did this development occur? When did he have this breakthrough that he was opposed to higher taxes and higher costs? Because if my memory serves, and help me out, audience, tell me here, didn't Adam Schiff vote against the big, beautiful bill to cut taxes for the American people? Wasn't Adam Schiff a part of an operation to explode the national debt? Wasn't Adam Schiff responsible for the disgusting printing of trillions of dollars during the Biden administration that only impoverished Americans, made them poorer? Wasn't Adam Schiff responsible for all of that? Help me out here. The guy who's acting like he's not for higher taxes or higher spending, all he's pushed for throughout his career are higher taxes and higher spending. I love this opposite world nonsense you get from Democrats like Adam Schiff. But he also added an element to this never-ending cascade of lies. He said taxpayer money was spent on all of these self-aggrandizing distractions. Taxpayer money. There's a funny little detail about this. No taxpayer money was spent. This race was paid for by Penske. Penske paid for the race. Here's the summary. Sam Antar has been on X talking about this. He said, look, Adam Schiff apparently didn't bother checking who actually paid for the race before he blamed Trump for more taxpayer money spent. Penske paid the vast majority of the Freedom 250 costs. Private sponsors covered more. Penske says it took no federal money to produce the race. The public expense was security funded through DC's existing annual special events security allotment. So in other words, is there any taxpayer exposure? Yeah, it's limited to securing the event so that left-wingers don't assassinate the president of the United States. If any taxpayer money was spent of any meaning, it's because the left keeps trying to kill Trump. So if you're mad about taxpayer money going out the door, why don't you tell your boys on the left to settle the hell down, Adam Schiff, and stop trying to kill the president of the United States? The race itself paid for by Penske. Josh has a question. Josh, what's your question, sir? The state? Oh, okay. Let's look it up. Okay, so Josh asks, what's the state income tax in California? And the state income tax gets up to 13.3%. 13.3%. The standard top rate is 12.3%, and then they got a millionaire tax totaling 13.3%. So, in other words, you have to pay an exorbitant sum of money to live in Adam Schiff's state because of Democrats like Adam Schiff. And that's not including every other fee that Californians have to endure, including the ridiculously high cost of gasoline because they have ridiculously high taxes on that gasoline in California. That's the state of play in Adam Schiff's California. So continuing here with Sam Antar, he says, look, the public expense was security that was funded through DC's existing annual special events allotment. He writes, Schiff saw Trump, started typing, and he skipped the part where you check the facts first. That's how you end up volunteering for your own community note. I love I just love Trump waving the green flag. That's the funniest thing. And I just even like how he did it physically. It's perfect. No notes. Absolutely perfect. Really great. And Sam Antar's right about this. Penske spent a lot of money to put this race together. In fact, they lost a lot of money to put this race together. They said it was a very expensive venture. Take a look at this. This is from the New York Times. They did an article on kind of like how this was all set up. One of the executives over at Penske, this guy Denker, said, yeah, there's no profit. This is an amazingly expensive venture. How expensive exactly? He says, I don't give the number. But if the IndyCar event in Detroit is $22 million, we are well beyond that. Well beyond that. So what, approaching $100 million? They spent a lot of money to make this thing work. And it wasn't taxpayer money. It's kind of like the ballroom project, by the way. The ballroom is paid for by generous benefactors. Donors to the United States, rich guys basically, are just giving money to build a ballroom, and the left is trying to stand in the way. Now, is there any federal taxpayer expense being incurred in the construction? Yes, because we're building a military facility deep underground at the White House to replace the previous bunker under the East Wing, which was, of course, completely outdated. The president of the United States is trying to do that, and the left has been standing in his way. Well, in a moment, I'm going to share with you some good news because the Supreme Court has just weighed in on this subject. But despite the fact that the president gets good news on this build, then the Washington Post comes flying in with yet another what seems to be treasonous leak about the security of the United States of America and our leadership. There's a lot to get to, and it's all ahead on this edition of Vince. I want to thank one of the fine sponsors who make this morning's show possible. That's Brickhouse Nutrition. You know, everybody's talking about weight loss injections because the results are pretty dramatic. They work by helping to lower your blood sugar and reduce your appetite. But what if you're looking to lose weight and you don't want painful weekly injections, especially when you hear about some of those side effects? That's why the doctors at Brickhouse Nutrition created an incredible weight loss supplement called Lean. And the results are incredible. The studied ingredients in Lean have been shown to help lower your blood sugar, help you burn fat by converting it into energy, help you curb your appetite and your cravings so you are less hungry. But listen, Lean by Brickhouse Nutrition, it's not for the casual dieter. It's for frustrated dieters. 10 or more pounds to lose. If that's you, let's get you started. 20% off. Free rush shipping. Visit takelean.com. Enter Vince for your discount. That's promo code Vince at takelean.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease, and it's not a substitute or alternative for care from a healthcare provider. Thank you, Lean. Thank you, Brickhouse Nutrition. Great supporters of our program. Great at helping Americans get healthy. Now, the ballroom. I got a good ballroom update for you. The left has been trying to stop it. There was a lawsuit started by some left-wing group claiming that some random lady was walking by the White House and she was scandalized by the sight of the construction. And so they started this litigation to try and stop the president from building the ballroom. And so it's gone in fits and starts because the courts keep intervening. And we just got an update from the Supreme Court. The president can indeed keep building the ballroom while the appeal process plays out. This is the Wall Street Journal. The Supreme Court said President Trump can keep building his White House ballroom for now, as the justices continue weighing his emergency appeal to let the construction proceed. The interim measure, known as an administrative stay, gives the justices more time to consider whether a lower court's stop work order against the project should even take effect. Without the high court's action, that injunction would have kicked in on Saturday and immediately halted construction of the 90,000 square foot project that Trump says is needed for national security. Two lower courts have ruled that the president exceeded his authority when he tore down the east wing of the White House in a matter of days last fall and immediately began construction on the ballroom without the approval of Congress. But he's been allowed to keep building while his administration pursues appeals. In his emergency appeal to the Supreme Court, the president asked the justices to let work continue on what the president now says is an integrated military complex. A preservationist group that is challenging it urged the justices to stop the project now, no matter that it is partially built. Okay, so this detail that it's a military complex is not something that the president was highlighting when he first announced the project. And there's a reason for that. He was trying to downplay the reality that underneath the East Wing is this presidential security bunker, where if all hell breaks loose, the president of the United States can descend deep underground and continue to lead the United States of America. That's kind of the point. Now, it's long been known that that bunker existed under the East Wing. And in fact, when you and I were talking about this ballroom project last year, does anybody in the chat remember the show that I did on this subject? Where I started emphasizing, wait a second, hold on. He's building a ballroom, but the East Wing, that's where the bunker is. In other words, like if they're going to do a teardown of all of this, I would assume they're going to modernize the presidential bunker. You guys remember this show? Yeah, and then eventually what ended up happening is the president straight up said it in public. He's like, okay, got to be honest, it's a huge military project we're doing underground. So it really, for anybody who is paying attention, anybody who even has a passing understanding of the history at the White House would have known that this is very much a military project, isn't it, guys? So this is very important. The reason the president keeps bringing up that it's a military complex is a budgetary feature. This idea that, the Congress needs to authorize spending for this kind of building at the White House. The White House is making the case, you've already authorized spending. You've authorized military spending. And we are doing exactly that. This is a military project at the White House. At the White House. That's why he's saying, I can continue to do this. Now, the left would rather, of course, see the construction project halted. Just leave a hole in the ground, a partial build, let the rain pour into it, let it deteriorate. Let's just leave it without it actually being built up. Now, how insane is that? Typical for the left, but it's truly insane. You're just going to leave it destroyed? No, we've got to build something here. We got to keep the construction going. You've got guys, actual workers, who are American workers, who are trying to put this together, and guess who's standing in the way of American workers yet again? The left. The left. The left is once again getting in the way of the guys who work for a living. The guys who work with their hands, the guys who build things, the guys who are trying to build something great for the United States of America. It's the left that's standing in their way as we speak. So thankfully, the Supreme Court said, you can continue construction. We'll litigate this, but continue the construction project as we go. Great. Lovely. That's wonderful. And if the Supreme Court renders a final judgment on this subject, they should side with the American people. That's all we're asking. Side with the American people and let's get this thing built. Besides, the president's not even going to be able to use it that much, if at all, by the time he leaves office. He's building it for future presidents of the United States to use, and the left is still angry about it. Watch, if a Democrat president ever gets back to power, of course, they will very happily use that ballroom. Meanwhile, the left is rooting against it right now because they don't want President Trump to build nice things for the American people. Now, in the midst of all of this, we just got a new story overnight from the Washington Post, and I'm telling you, the media is going to be all over this today. If they're not already, you should know about it. I'm just going to tell you exactly what's happening in the Post. But I don't like that this story is being told. Now, I can't speak to its authenticity. It's very likely true, I guess, is a way to assess this. But here's the problem I have. Whoever leaked this is engaged in treasonous, I mean it, treasonous behavior. Treasonous. Listen to this. A secret White House bunker undercuts Trump's ballroom lawsuit, ex-officials say. A secret White House bunker. President Trump has claimed that the White House needs a massive new ballroom because it would provide him and future presidents with a secure, hardened facility. But former officials, I guarantee these are Biden people or Obama people, although that distinction is one without a difference. Former officials say the argument fails to acknowledge that the presidential complex already has one. More than a decade ago, federal officials built a highly protected bunker embedded deep underground that can shelter the president and his top aides in a national security emergency, according to 3 former officials. The facility, which was secretly completed during the Obama administration, can house dozens of people for up to multiple weeks, 2 former officials said. It's buried more than 60 feet underneath the White House complex. It's built to withstand a nuclear blast, 2 of the officials said, ensuring the president and his team have a secure command center to run the country in times of extreme duress. You see the problem with this report? You see how vile this is? This is treasonous. Oh, he doesn't need a secure facility. He's already got a secure facility. What are you doing? Yeah. Is your mind that polluted by Trump derangement syndrome that you would imperil the security of the president of the United States? Of, by the way, any party. Why would you reveal this? Why was it kept secret in the first place? In fact, if you know about it, and now the public has just learned about it because of your leaks, you only knew about it because you had access to classified information. You took an oath to this country. You are obliged to protect the secrets that involve protecting our nation, and you didn't. You just told the Washington Post about this. For what purpose? To hurt Trump? Do you realize how sick that is? That behavior is criminal. The Washington Post is acting as if this detail undermines the urgency with which the president needs to pursue building the ballroom and the underlying military command center. It doesn't for a moment. One would hope that there are multiple secure locations to protect the president of the United States, including at the White House complex itself. The release of this top secret information is treasonous. It's insanity what you're witnessing. It's true insanity. And this is why, when the president has previously referred to the media as the enemy of the American people, it's this kind of behavior he's referring to. The Washington Post acts like it deserves an award or something for not sharing every last detail about this bunker. They said the Washington Post is withholding some details of the bunker and its construction in order to not compromise sensitive White House security protocols. What the hell is wrong with you? Americans are often left wondering, is the media on our side? Like, are they rooting for America? Are they rooting for our success? Do they care at all about the well-being of our country, about our constitutional republic? Certainly, there are some members of the media who do care. I know them. But the Washington Post, this kind of story, it's a betrayal. And whoever leaked it committed an act of treason against the United States. It's pretty sick. Got a lot more to get to. Concerned about that, though. Very concerned about that. It's not, that story, the Washington Post has it. Of course, it's going to be all over the media today as a justification for why President Trump doesn't need to build this military facility. He does, and you need to stop getting in his way. You need to come to your damn senses. More ahead on this edition of Vince. I want to thank the fine people who do make our shows possible each day and free and available. We love Helix Mattress. During the warmer months, we make a big effort. We all make a bigger effort to prioritize recovering. And one thing that's had a surprisingly big impact on me and my wife, Allison, we love our Helix mattress. The Midnight Lux, that's the brand we have. That's the model we have. It's completely changed the way we sleep. Before switching to Helix, the truth is I would toss and turn throughout the night, trying to get comfortable. I actually thought I had a good mattress. I didn't. My mattress was the problem. And I only knew that when I finally got my hands on a Helix, when I finally got my body on a Helix, because I would wake up feeling groggy. I'd be low on energy. And ever since I made the change to the Helix mattress, I've noticed I actually fall asleep more quickly. I stay asleep longer. I wake up feeling so much better, more refreshed. And we took their sleep quiz. It was really simple. You just answer a couple of questions about your sleeping style and your preferences. And then they matched us up with our mattress, tailored specifically for us. And on top of that, Helix offers free shipping, a 129 sleep trial, and a limited lifetime warranty, so you can feel confident trying it for yourself. And now Helix has an exclusive offer for you, 27% off site-wide. Go to helixsleep.com/Vince, 27% off site-wide, exclusive for you. That's helixsleep.com/Vince, 27% off site-wide, helixsleep.com/Vince. And then when you arise each morning and you think to yourself, what am I going to do to power my day? Well, you should start with Blackout Coffee. That's what I do. I love Blackout Coffee. It's a small American company built by people who work hard, believe in this country, and share our values. In other words, us. They happen to make some seriously good coffee, and every morning when I pour that first cup, I know exactly what I'm getting. Strong, smooth coffee. It's never bitter, fresh roasted, packed with flavor, and delivered right to my door. And let's be honest, I'd rather make an incredible cup of coffee at home than stand in line somewhere and spend $7? What is it? It's crazy what people are paying. Like $7 on a drink that's loaded up with syrup, sugar, whipped cream, all designed to mask the flavor of the crappy coffee. How about this? How about you get great coffee, which doesn't need a bunch of sugar. It's got no calories in it. It's great. It should taste great on its own. Blackout Coffee keeps it very simple. It's great coffee, great people, an American company doing things the right way. If you haven't tried it yet, now's the time. Go to blackoutcoffee.com/Vince. Use the code Vince. Get 20% off your first order. That's blackoutcoffee.com/Vince. Try Blackout Coffee. Start your morning with something you can feel so very good about. Blackout Coffee. We love Blackout. Yes, indeed. All right. Let's see here. I've got some other things to get to. The midterms are barreling forward, and I have a note for you today about the midterms. the South Carolina, first of all, tomorrow has an election in South Carolina. It's the election day, although early voting has been going on. The South Carolina runoff is going on right now. And last week on the program, for those of you who were with me, we had Ralph Norman stop by the show, the congressman who is currently running for that United States Senate seat, which is vacant now in the wake of Lindsey Graham's passing. Well, it's not vacant. It's currently occupied by Darlene Graham, but it was led to this moment of who's going to be the person as a result of Lindsey Graham's death. So Darlene Graham and Ralph Norman are running against each other in this race. And for those of you who've been following along, you'll know I've had requests out. Our team has had requests out to both candidates to come on the program. Only Ralph Norman took us up on this. Darlene Graham's staff has not, as far as I can tell, I don't think they've even responded to our ovations to have her on the program, which is really disappointing. Darlene Graham seems like a nice woman, but she also seems, candidly, out of her depth. On that debate stage, she was kind of staggered by really simple questions about what it would take to be a United States senator and what her focus might be. She just doesn't know a lot. And in fact, I'm give her all the credit in the world for honesty. I prefer that than the standard fair lying that comes out of Washington, D.C. all the time. But reporters keep asking her questions, and she keeps tabling the answers, saying she has to think about it. She doesn't know. The reality is, like, she just hasn't really put the reps in yet to be prepared for a job of this importance. That's the reality of it. And so as a result, her staff has kept her in a cocoon. They've kept her inside the bubble. They don't want her, as much as they can control it, subjected to scrutiny by the public, or even questions from sincere, America-loving shows like this one. They're just hiding her, and they're hoping that that results in her election victory come tomorrow. Now, President Trump, of course, actively campaigning for her, doing his best to help her succeed in this environment. He's very fond of his brother, so I was not surprised to see that he'd be fond of Lindsey Graham's sister. But I'm just giving it to you. Again, I told you I value honesty. I always want to be honest with you. I'm just giving it to you like I see it. Ralph Norman is a very conservative guy. I think South Carolina would be destined to have a very talented United States Senator if Ralph Norman gets the nod tomorrow throughout this election and then subsequently in November. And meanwhile, Darlene Graham, if she's going to get up to speed, she needs to move more quickly. And this is a very short runway for her. It's a very short runway for her. And the American people deserve to know that. Again, just wanted to offer that update to you. As of this morning, I checked this morning too, just to make sure nothing from Darlene Graham's team. And despite the fact that we wanted her, and her chances have basically disappeared at this point, because the election is tomorrow. So keep your eye on that. That's a big one. Meanwhile, the midterm convention's coming up. Any of you going to be in Dallas, by the way, for that? Anybody going to be in Dallas? We're going to be there. We've got the production team there, and it's going to be great. We'll be doing the shows from Dallas coming up. This is mid-September, Josh? Josh, when is the date on that thing? The GOP convention in Dallas. September 9th and 10th. Yeah, September 9th and 10th at the American Airlines Center in Dallas, Texas. If any of you are going to be in attendance at this thing, please stop by and say hello. Love to see you. Dallas, Texas. We're coming. We're coming to Dallas, Texas. It's going to be good. And we've got a couple of us going, right, Josh? We've got in terms of each of the shows, I think Haley's going. Sean Farish is going to be there. And I believe Dan's going to be holding down the fort back at HQ. So yes, that's the game plan. But it's going to be great. So a chance to say hello if you guys are there in Dallas, Texas, at the American Airlines Center, September 9th and 10th at that big convention. The expected attendance is over 20,000 people at this very unusual event. This will be a midterm Republican convention thrown by the President of the United States. I'm certain the president will be there, and the vice president of the United States, and all sorts of people from the Trump administration. That's going to be a big event, so it'll be great. And actually, one other cool detail. You ready for this weird detail? I've never met producer Josh in person. I've never met him. We work together every day. Josh, how long have you been working with me? Since January of this year. We've gone 8 months without meeting in person. So I will get to shake Josh's hand finally when we meet in Dallas coming up in just a few short weeks. So that'll be very exciting to do that. Now, the vice president of the United States is already campaigning for the midterms. He's been very busy. J.D. Vance has been raising a ton of cash for the Republicans. I love the media tried to turn that into a scandal. They just hauled in millions upon millions of dollars at like one fundraising event. What was it, like a week ago or something? And the media tried to turn that into an epic scandal. I'm like, how is that a scandal? The Republicans are bringing in tons of money for the midterms. The Democrats are in tragic and hilarious amounts of debt. We are not the same at all. And thank God J.D. Vance is on our side. The guy's talented. He was campaigning in Ohio on Friday. He's campaigning in Maine today. And I want to show you some of his campaign in Ohio on Friday because it's a reminder of what the Republican Party's messaging should actually sound like all across the country. It's a really basic thing, which is Donald Trump was elected to fight for the average American. That's the message. Not for other countries, not for the globalists, not to hollow out American manufacturing. He's fighting to make America great again. Here is J.D. Vance on that message in Ohio on Friday. Cut 7. Watch this.
Now, in 1984, just to date myself a little bit, don't hate me, 1 month before I was born, the Wall Street Journal, the voice of big business in the United States of America, proposed, and I quote, a 5-word constitutional amendment. There shall be open borders. Now, they weren't joking. They weren't being tongue-in-cheek. Because if you look at what they tried to do over the next 40 years, they told you back then exactly what they were trying to do. 16 years later, when I was in high school, right here at Middletown High School, go Middies. The newspaper's lead editorial writer doubled down on that same set of ideas. They said, someone who believes, this is a quote, in the free trade and free movements of capital, they declared, will quite naturally believe in the free movement of labor. That means they're going to ship your jobs overseas and they're going to let anybody who wants to come into the United States of America with no vetting and no care. Being replaced by foreign workers, in other words, it was not an accident, my friends. It was the desired outcome of a generation of American elites. And every single person in this room knows the consequences and what they looked like over a generation right here in Middletown, Ohio. Now, growing up here, I remember when somebody would come to school and tell me that their dad had just found out that he had lost his job, that the factory that employed their parents was going overseas to China or to Mexico. In other cases, American workers didn't just have their jobs destroyed, they got told they were being replaced by a foreign worker, and then they had to train that worker before they got replaced. Some of these stories have made national news and they've stuck with me. 3 years after the Wall Street Journal called for the free movement of labor, a computer programmer, not a mill worker, a computer programmer by the name of Kevin Flanagan was let go at the bank that he worked at. And the bank, they told him, you're only going to get your severance package if you trained a foreign replacement to do your job instead. And it's a heartbreaking story because he did it. He dutifully did what he was asked to do. And on his last day, he packed up his things, he walked to the office parking lot, he got in his truck and he shot himself. It's not just Kevin, as you all know.
These betrayals were orchestrated. These betrayals were by design. The American people were destroyed by members of both parties, by the way, who spent years telling you that this would be good for you and your family. And then so many Americans were left looking around trying to pick up the pieces of their hollowed out communities that were destroyed by the loss of jobs and the emergence of deadly drugs and sadness. And so people have sought a way out, haven't they? They voted for Trump. And have they done it multiple times? And J.D. Vance, I think, very eloquently represents the vision of the political moment that our country needs, which is we need people who are obsessed with the well-being of Americans, just utterly obsessed, who know what the stakes are, who know what the betrayals were. And so he's calling out the globalists. And in fact, he pointed to this 1984 Wall Street Journal editorial. You heard him say it, that the editorial page in 1984 called for open borders. Said straight up, on a constitutional amendment? We need to amend the Constitution for open borders? That's insanity. Is that real? Oh, it's real. Take a look at this. Here's a screen grab here. Jordan McGillis captured this. I was looking for it right away as soon as I heard J.D. Vance say it. And it says, 1984 Wall Street Journal editorial. If Washington still wants to do something about immigration, we propose a 5-word constitutional amendment. There shall be open borders. Perhaps this policy is overly ambitious in today's world, but the United States became the world's envy by trumpeting precisely this kind of heresy. Our greatest heresy is that we believe in people as the greatest resource of our land. People, generically, just people. They didn't say Americans. They said people. We just need to bring in people from all across planet Earth. How can we use people for our own advancement? This is a sentence declaring the exploitation of generic people is the mission, not making this country great for Americans. That was the Wall Street Journal. And it was that ideology that has led to so many wounds to the United States of America. Now, that was 1984. You know, by 1986, Congress, in concert with the President of the United States at the time, Ronald Reagan, passed what you might call today a, quote, comprehensive immigration package, comprehensive immigration reform. And the effect of that was to only invite a lot more illegal immigration into the United States of America, unfortunately. As good as Ronald Reagan was as President of the United States, this was one of the most meaningful setbacks of his presidency because he signs on to a piece of legislation that he thought would give a one-time amnesty and then permanent border security. It didn't do that. It gave amnesty, and we didn't get border security. Well, lesson learned, or should have been. But Washington keeps doing this stupid debate every couple of years. Comprehensive immigration reform, one more amnesty, maybe that'll do the trick. And it never does the trick. Do you know why? Because if you keep giving reprieve to people who break our laws, what are future lawbreakers to think about the United States and whether or not consequences will be imposed on them? They just know it's a waiting game. Okay, right now President Trump is kind of standing in the way, but we'll just wait for somebody else to get in office, and then we'll come pouring in, and Washington will eventually give us amnesty. That's the attitude, because they're making a smart assessment. The analysis proves that Washington keeps selling out the American people. We need to change the trajectory. This is why we voted for Trump. This is why we voted for Vance, and this is what J.D. Vance is representing as he goes out to Ohio. A great message, and he should stick to that. Not only should he stick to it, but every other Republican should be on that message. I'm fighting for you. What has Washington done for you? What have they done to you? We need people who actually fight for us. That's J.D. Vance with an important message. And what does he want for Americans? What is President Trump and Vice President Vance, and what should all Republicans want for Americans? Well, here's J.D. Vance vocalizing that very thing. Cut 8. Watch.
It's not just about what happens in the factory. It's not just about what happens in the office. We don't just want you to have a good job, as much as I very much want that for every single person in this room. I want you to have peace, and I want you to have security, and I want you to have the real freedom that comes along with knowing that you are the Lord of your own manor. You're the great Southern...
You are the Lord of your own manor. You are in charge. This country was built for and by you, Americans. That's the proper understanding. If each person who runs for elective office operates with that core understanding of the mission, we've made America great again. We've definitely made it great again. That's wonderful. Now, of course, in a rally like this, you can't let it end without J.D. Vance going after some lefties. He went after Tampon Tim Walz, and by the way, for very good reason. Remember, Tampon Tim pardoned a man who had repeatedly raped a 10-year-old. I know it's awful to even have to say it, but it's true. An illegal alien who had repeatedly raped a 10-year-old here in the United States of America. In an effort to prevent his deportation, Tampon Tim Walz and the Attorney General of the state, Keith Ellison, as well as the Chief Supreme Court Justice of the state of Minnesota, they all agreed to grant this guy a pardon. That's insane. To give him clemency? Just to protect him from deportation? He's a rapist, you animals. Here's J.D. Vance going after Tim Walz for this. Watch.
Sound and stain. In one case, we were working to deport a convicted child rapist in the state of Minnesota. Tim Walz. You remember Tim Walz? Caught wind. And you know what he did? He pardoned the guy. He pardoned a literal child rapist to prevent him from being deported out of the United States of America. Now, we went ahead and got this guy out of our country anyways, and Walz, it gets better. Walz asked the country what good it accomplished. Did that make us any safer? That is a direct quote from the Democrat governor of Minnesota. To which I'd say, as the father of 4 young children, 10-year-olds and everybody else can breathe a little bit easier in Minnesota. Yes, Tim, of course it's good to get violent criminals the hell out of the United States of America.
Well, I mean, the Democrats are a party of criminals. The Democrats are pro-criminal. Democrats see criminals and they go, that's a Democrat voter right there. So, of course, they want to keep criminals around. I mean, it's like the whole thing is so crazy. We live in such demented times, don't we? But great to hear the clarity of virtue, the clarity of thought, the clarity of politics from J.D. Vance as he stays on the campaign trail this week for the midterms. And I expect he's going to do a lot of that leading up to the midterms. A big moment here is J.D. Vance and President Trump try to drag some of these Republicans across the finish line. That would be wonderful news. One more piece of midterm news for you, and then I've got to get to Enes Kanter Freedom getting the boot out of a WNBA game. Why do they treat temporary women so poorly in the WNBA? We'll get to that in just a moment. But first, a different, as far as we can tell, biological woman to talk about. Jasmine Crockett just did a podcast. She did a podcast, but in the podcast, she was talking about this race between Ken Paxton and James Talarico. And, you know, Talarico is a complete disaster. Anybody in the chat in Texas, will Texas voters actually go for Talarico? The guy thinks that God is non-binary, 6 genders, and, you know, loves abortion. And he's a very demented and heretical person. That's a good way to put it.
God is non-binary.
He's a whack job. The guy's just a whack job. Okay. So here is Jasmine Crockett this week saying that Talarico is running such a poor campaign that, quote, black people aren't excited about him. So Jasmine Crockett is trying to figure out a way to generate excitement among black voters. Just listen to this inane statement from Jasmine frickin' Crockett. Watch.
In my mind, the best way that I can help the people of Texas is if I go in and I help out on these down ballot races, because typically people rely on the top of the ticket to drag people in. That's the marquee race. That's how you get people to come out. I personally don't feel like the excitement necessarily exists within the black community right now. Like I don't feel like they're excited, right? But I do have some amazing black candidates that are running for office in some of the largest counties. So if I can introduce black folk to them, that may excite them and get them to the polls.
What am I listening to? So, by the way, thank you to Jason Cohen for pulling that clip. He's a great clip grabber. He did a good job with that one. But she just said, did I hear that correctly? Like, Talarico, the problem with him is not that he's a psychopath. It's not that he says God is non-binary or any of this other insane stuff. It's the fact that his skin is white. Am I hearing this correctly? And that in order to get black voters excited, you have to put black candidates in front of them because racial prejudice is the standard by which black voters are activated? Is that what Jasmine Crockett is saying? What is she saying? What is she saying? It's all so crazy. I know. You're probably thinking, Vince, why even bother with her? I'm just telling you. Right now in Texas, Talarico is not generating enthusiasm, including from the party he's supposed to be generating enthusiasm from. In fact, Talarico just appears to be a net drag on the Democrats nationwide, and if that's the purpose he serves, good. He should be. The guy is a theatrical whack job, being supported by theatrical whack jobs like Jasmine Crockett, who still to this day claims that the reason she didn't win that primary was because Texas voters are too racist to support her. You know that? The reason Talarico won is because of, quote, racism. That party, man, they really deserve each other, don't they? They really deserve each other. Remarkable, but that's the situation in Texas. Come on, Ken Paxton, baby. Come on. And come on. Hey, for the rest of you, you Republican big money operations who are trying to figure out where you spend your money, support Ken Paxton in Texas, would you? Help that victory. Help that victory. It should continue to be fool's gold for Democrats, but it takes effort to win races. So please put it in to support the people's candidate chosen in Texas, Ken Paxton. What a great replacement for John Cornyn, by the way. All right. Before we go, Enes Kanter Freedom, you know him, the longtime NBA player turned like just complete stud, freedom advocate, liberty advocate, loves the United States of America, loves this country. His latest fight has been with the WNBA. Now, recently, Enes Kanter Freedom announced that he is making himself eligible for the WNBA draft. He's announced his intention to join the next WNBA draft. And you may be thinking to yourself, Vince, how can a man join the WNBA draft, which is a wonderful biological and integrity-led question. I love that question. And the answer is it shouldn't be allowed. But the WNBA is so insane that it appears it technically is allowed. The WNBA has been paying lip service to this idea constantly that men can become women. So what's stopping them from participating? That would be men from stealing the honors of women inside of the WNBA. This subject has exploded into much more full view lately because Sophie Cunningham spoke out against men playing in women's sports. She says she's not trying to be hateful or bigoted or anything. She's just telling you straight up that men should not be cheating in women's sports. She's right about that. She's right about that's the loving position, by the way, to protect women. Sophie Cunningham's doing it. Why isn't the rest of the league doing it? Why is it one lone voice who is speaking up with this much clarity? Well, Enes Kanter Freedom has decided to join the fight. And yesterday, he went and he attended a game. This was between, I'm sorry, I forget the names of the teams with such frequency. I apologize for that. The Chicago Sky and the Indiana Fever are the names of the teams. It was in Indiana, and Enes Kanter Freedom was seated courtside, and he was wearing a shirt that very simply said that a woman is defined as an adult human female. It was just the definition of a woman on his shirt. And at one point, a player for the Chicago Sky comes over. Her name is Natasha Cloud, and she begins screaming in Enes Kanter Freedom's face. She's like upset with him for wearing a T-shirt or something. The whole thing is so crazy. And Enes Kanter Freedom gets kicked out of the game because that Natasha Cloud whack job, is throwing a shit fit. Watch this. Here's the video footage of the moment.
What happened tonight?
What happened tonight? Good question. So I was literally out there. I mean, obviously I'm a huge fan of basketball, a huge fan of women's basketball, and I was there to watch the game, and I was really excited because I'm a huge fan of the Fevers. And so I was just literally just there to just watch the game. And then first half went amazing. I was having so much fun with my friends and stuff. And then it was towards the end of the third quarter. and Sophie Cunningham shot a three, and I put my hands up to celebrate, right? Literally a couple position later, Natasha came back and started screaming and yelling and said, "She's not going to sleep with you." And I was like, I am not trying to sleep with her. I'm just here to protect women and support her. And then obviously after that, she started yapping and she started to walk towards me. And literally I just got up and then I was like, I'm just here to protect women and that's all, right?
Yeah.
And then she started to yell. She started to use some very heavy language. She started to actually cuss. And I was very shocked that there were a lot of kids and there were a lot of teenagers was at that game.
Yeah,
and I just cannot believe that she was just cussing and using those F-bombs in front of all these kids. And that is not, I mean, I'm sure like she's loved in Chicago and many kids and idolizing her and stuff, but that's not and a WNBA athlete should react, you know?
Yeah.
And then anyway, and then after that, the security guy, came and then I was like, listen, you need to leave. I was like, can you please tell me why do I need to leave? They said, look, you just need to leave. And then they literally, I don't want to say they dragged me, but like they pretty much like pushed me to leave the gym. And then after that, I had a conversation with the police officers, which I respect a lot. I was like, listen, I was just there to protect women.
Just there to protect women. Thank you to Outkick for doing that interview so rapidly with Enes Kanter Freedom to get his version of events. Here's what it looked like. And by the way, thank you to the chat for correcting me. They weren't in Indiana, rather they were in Chicago. And you can tell that based on the fact that it says it on the bottom of the screen. It says Indiana. It always goes challengers first, the away team first. Indiana at Chicago. So they're in Chicago. Here's what that moment looked like on national television. Take a look here. Let me put this on the full screen over here. Check this out. Here's what it looks like. Watch this.
6-point basketball game. Chicago staying in it. Natasha Cloud. And right before the break, this was the scene inside Wintrust Arena after Natasha Cloud got that bucket. She wanted her voice heard. We have talked about the conversations surrounding the W. That is Enes Kanter in the building today. And he has voiced how he's felt about the situation. Natasha Cloud voicing her opinion as well. Kanter was just escorted out.
That's a lot of saying nothing, isn't it? From the announcer, just like kind of giving you the least amount of information possible about what exactly the stakes are. They're both making their voices heard, and he was just escorted out. What? Can you tell me what's going on, please? The Natasha Cloud chick is insane, by the way. Totally insane. A couple years ago, in the wake of Supreme Court decisions that restored order to the country, that said that you shouldn't judge people on the basis of race, that the Constitution should be upheld, these types of things. Natasha Cloud went ape again when she was on, let's see. Here she is. On X, she wrote, "Our country is trash in so many ways. And instead of using our resources to make it better, we continue to oppress marginalized groups that we have targeted since the beginning of times. Black, brown communities, and LGBTQ plus man. We are too powerful to still be attacking issues separate." What? So she was upset about Supreme Court decisions that were trying to root out bigotry. She was upset about Supreme Court decisions that said that the Constitution should be upheld. She was upset about America being restored to any sense of greatness by the court. And then she rages online about it and says that our country is trash. That's Natasha Cloud, the same Natasha Cloud who Enes Kanter Freedom offended by being seated on the court side wearing a definition of a woman on his T-shirt. This is the insanity of the left. On one side, you've got Enes Kanter Freedom standing up for, as his last name connotes, liberty and decency, and women, and Natasha Cloud, who's rooting against them. while playing in a league that's designed to be segregated based on sex in order to create fair play. And that whole thing, our country is trash. Do you know who responded to that at the time? Enes Kanter Freedom did. And here's what he said. He said, just ask your colleague, Brittany Griner, how trash America is. Calling America trash, huh? Let me know when your season is over. I'll buy your ticket. We can go together to countries like China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, Venezuela, Cuba, and Turkey. Forget about calling them trash. I would like to see if you can even criticize those regimes. You and your family members would be thrown in jail, tortured to death, and raped. People have no idea how lucky and blessed they are to be in a country like America. I'm not saying America's perfect, but trust me, you don't want to see the other side. Enes Kanter Freedom. The guy loves his liberty. He loves our country. He loves standing up for women. And for that, he gets thrown out of a WNBA game. But we're applauding you, Enes Kanter Freedom. Appreciate him and appreciate you. You really are the best audience anywhere. We've got a lot of things going on today. A very exciting day, actually, because we got Dan Bongino's program, 10 a.m., rumble.com/Bongino. We have Haley Karania's amazing program coming up at noon, rumble.com/Haley, Haley with 2 Y's. Why? Because she's amazing. We've got Sean Farish's amazing program coming up, 1 p.m. He's great. 1 p.m. on Rumble, rumble.com/Sean, SHAWN to get there. And then, of course, the big national radio show from noon to 3 Eastern time, rumble.com/Vince if you'd like to watch it. Excuse me. Hold on. TheVinceShow.com if you want your local radio listings. To watch it live, you can watch it on my personal Rumble account. It's Vince Colonnese. Just spell it out. That account, just follow my account there, and you'll be able to see the notifications and join us on the big national radio show. Okay. Now, one more gigantic note for you for today. Today starts the launch of Bongino Report PM. This is a nationally syndicated radio show set to air from the 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern time slot. Now, there's 2 hosts to this Bongino Report PM show. Sean Farish takes the first hour, and the final 2 hours, our very own Dan Bongino. Dan hosts the final 2 hours of that program. So you get Sean for the first hour, Dan for the final 2. It's going to be epic. There's a lot going on, and I'm just so grateful to be a part of it. It's just such a blast. As always, thank you for being here, and I will be back with you tomorrow. Up next here on Rumble, Graham Allen.